Hi, I'm Cisco with ACROBOTIC, and I'm here to show you another tip for working with your ESP8266 microcontroller. When we connect our ESP8266 to our local Wi-Fi network, it gets an IP address assigned by our wireless router. When we then set up a web server running on the ESP8266, we use that IP address to access different routes that call different functions that are part of our firmware. The problem with that IP address is that it takes an extra step to find out what it is. It can change over time, and it can be difficult to remember if you're working with different devices. So today we're going to be showing you how to assign an easy to remember web address to your ESP8266 using multicast DNS, or mDNS for short. You can read more about multicast DNS using the link in the description of this video, but for our purposes, what we want to do is set up a web address like ESP8266-01.local to access the different functions that would be running on our ESP8266. So to do that, let's start with a simple web server code that we've been using before and copy it to a new directory that I'll call webserver_mdns. And let's rename the firmware file from simple web server to match the new name of the directory. We can go ahead and open up that file. And if you remember, we used a couple of libraries that allowed us to first connect to Wi-Fi, and secondly, to establish a couple of routes that executed two different functions as we access them. So I'll go ahead and open up the file. And the first thing we need is to include an additional library called ESP8266 mDNS.h. And inside that library, we now have access to a class that it's called mDNS responder that we'll use to declare an object that I'll name mDNS. With that object, we can use the begin method in order to create the web address that we will be using, which I'll name ESP8266-01. And we don't need the actual domain name, which by default will be .local. The second parameter that this method needs is the IP address of the ESP8266 that we can use using the local IP method of the Wi-Fi object. And I'll go ahead and correct this typo. Since this method actually blocks, then the rest of our code will not execute until it completes. So I'm going to add a conditional statement that when it evaluates to true, it'll print out a message to the user saying something like mDNS responder has started. Lastly, we're going to be using the mDNS built-in object to call the method addService, which requires 3 parameters. These parameters describe the type of service that we want to broadcast over the network. And in this case, we want to use HTTP over TCP on port 80. And that's it. We can go ahead and connect our board and test out the code. With our board connected, we can go back to the Arduino IDE and hit the upload button. Then we can open our serial monitor, reset the board if needed, and see first the IP address and the little printout message that we gave as the mDNS responder started. If we then go to our browser, we can type in the address that we chose, in this case ESP8266-01, which was specified right here on the mDNS.begin method. Go ahead and navigate to that, and if you remember, it'll do the same thing that we had before on the simple web server code, which is printing out a simple hello world message. Then if we navigate to the other path that we had set up, which is toggle, we can turn the LED on and off. Do it one more time. There you go. If you like our videos, you can go to our channel and click the support button. But whatever you do, don't forget to like, subscribe, or leave us a comment. Until next time.